This video is intended to help you understand the purpose of the unit count glyphs better and to provide you some ideas on how to solve the problems of creating an image to symbolize the whole unit. The first of the two big purposes of the unit count glyphs is that it serves as a symbolic image to communicate many things. You can bring in the course aim, you can bring in the unit goal, you can bring in the content objectives, you can bring in all the learning and understanding that you did. You can bring in things about how we did that learning. So in doing these unit count glyphs, we are actually putting the course aim into practice. Remember, the course aim is that you develop an understanding of art as a form of communication. One of the key ideas of this unit was to establish a foundation for success. So, what kind of imagery could show foundation? What kind of imagery can suggest success? What sort of images might suggest art? What kind of images could suggest communication? In general, I want you to stay away from using text in your glyphs. However, a little text is not necessarily a bad thing. However, if you're going to use text, you really need to think about the letter forms. Do something more than ordinary handwriting. There's a whole branch of graphic design called typography that deals with letter forms and what the forms themselves add in context to the communication. If you were to write out celebration in a Times New Roman or Arial font, it doesn't feel very celebratory. But if you use calligraphy, it does. So if you're using text, be sure to use it in a way that adds to the contextual information that you're providing in communicating the idea. The second big purpose of the glyphs is to serve as a mnemonic device for you. It's supposed to help you remember what you learned in that unit. And then as you look back over your portfolio cover, as we get towards the end of the semester, hopefully you'll start to see the connections between the learning of the units, how they all interconnect and relate to each other. So in order to do this, you really need to find the symbols that best apply to you, to your interests, the way you learn, the things you like, the things you're interested in, the things you know. So use symbolism that is personal in creating these glyphs to help you remember. Aesthetics is the branch of philosophy that deals with beauty. What is beautiful? What is pleasant to look at? That's always just something to bear in mind any time you're doing artwork. We each have our own aesthetic. We each prefer some things over other things. And you need to listen to your own aesthetic. But as you grow in your understanding of how art communicates, you will find that your aesthetic changes. That's because you're developing a higher level of what is right in your artwork. That is going to be consistent throughout this course. I'm always going to be challenging you to find that next level of right. Good enough just doesn't exist. You can always improve. Below are 3 examples of possible glyphs for this unit that I did up real quick on the computer. The first 2 use a paintbrush, anthropomorphic, meaning I made it seem human with the eyes and the mouth. The one has a circle background, and talking about communication, I use the yellow in the middle of the circle because art is a passion of mine, and I felt like yellow had that warm, fiery color that speaks of passion. And then it transitions into green around the edge because green is a color that suggests growth. And the idea is I'm using this passion for art to grow in my ability to use art and to grow as a human being. In the second one, I have the same paintbrush. It's got the communication bubble again, but in the background, I used a cement blocks to suggest the foundation, that foundation of understanding art as a form of communication. So it goes into both the course aim and unit goal. The third one goes back to a logo that I did. That's Art Rules. You'll see that around on paperwork and in this video. But I modified it and then put it into a square with that concrete foundation block behind it. And I don't know if you can tell the border that I put around it. The lines start small and get bigger as they come out, which again, that transition, that pattern, that change from small to big suggests the growth. It also is to suggest the sound, how sound is soft far away but louder as it gets close. So you have to consider all of these factors, problem solve, figure out what works for you, and hopefully by the end of the semester, as you look back over your portfolio, not only are you making the connections of understanding, but you are going to see your own growth and development in how well you use your understandings to communicate your understandings.